Hey guys, it's the Insane Aerospace Engineer here, back with another video for my tutorial series on Kerbal Space Program. Today we're going to go to minmus. The launch vehicle that I'm using is overkill and completely unnecessary. I am just using this because I'm testing a new vehicle for a different thing, and I didn't want to spare on the launch system just in case I couldn't get the shuttle on the top to orbit. But you shouldn't need to design a vehicle this big. The one that I used for the moon tutorial should be just perfectly fine. Minmus is a little bit more difficult in my opinion, though some would argue differently, citing that it's much easier to land on because of its lower gravity. It has extremely low gravity, which can be pretty fun. But I argue that it's harder because A, you have to make an inclination change, so that's where that first video I did on basic orbital maneuvers will come in handy. So make sure you remember the inclination change. If not, it's gonna be shown. It's pretty simple, but I'd argue differently that it's a little bit harder to get to, because of the fact that, yeah, you have to make an inclination change if you're on your way there, and B, because you expend more fuel actually getting there. Yeah, it's easier to land on, but you're gonna waste more fuel actually getting there. So we're starting with minmus second. That's pretty much all I can say about minmus for now. You'll just have to see when we start to make our way there. So we'll just continue with our normal burn to orbit. I'm having to adjust more slowly when I do my gravity turn with this vehicle because it is a lot bigger than anything I've been using in the past for my tutorial videos, and more prone to flipping over because of aerodynamic forces. That's the only difference. But you can use, yeah, like I said, you can use something like the moon rocket that I used, and it should be fine, because you require less delta V to get there. It's just that the orbital maneuvers involved are a little bit more complicated, and you're going to expend more fuel getting there. So I'm also going to be landing a little bit differently because the nature of this vehicle, and I have to test some stuff. I have to test specific properties of this vehicle to make sure that it'll work properly when I use it for its intended purpose later. So that's the thing. But yeah, you'll just be following the same kind of landing procedure as the one I used for the moon. You'll point your vehicle at the retrograde marker, and you'll burn until you reach like 40 or so meters per second, and then you'll slow your deceleration down a little bit to make sure you're not going back up. But keep your throttle controlled, and watch your velocity. And if you start going up, don't panic. Same kind of things. Your only difference really is you're making an inclination change, and it has much lower gravity. Pretty much following the same kind of things you would normally. Oh crap, we're out of fuel. Oops. Boom, get rid of that. Wait for it to separate. Look at them. Oh. You have to adjust upward a little bit here. I guess on our way up I'll talk about my thoughts on minmus. I think it's really cool that they added a second moon to Kerbin in an effort to make the Kerbal system unique from our own Sol system. But I kind of feel like it's just there because they can't model a planet tilt right now and make it proper. So So all planets in the game have a 0-degree tilt, and so do all the moons. They all have a 0-degree tilt. They have inclined orbits, but they have them 0-degree tilts, which is kind of, yeah, I understand, because the limitations of the game engine prevent there from them rendering tilted planetary body physics. So, but it feels like minmus was kind of just plopped there because they wanted a tilted moon around Kerbin, but they couldn't have the actual moon be tilted they wanted a moon on an inclination around Kerbin, but they couldn't have the moon be the one that's inclined, because then that would not line up properly with physics. So they stuck minmus there as the tilted moon. But don't get me wrong, I think minmus is a cool place. It's pretty fun to have that low gravity and everything. It's makes for some interesting missions, to say the least. And I like the appearance too, and I like that the official lore, I guess you could say, not that there's really any proper story to this game, says that it might be a captured comment, so I think that's really neat as well. Just finishing our orbit burn here. Sorry this is taking so long. I might end the video soon, because I feel like we're starting to get towards our 15-minute limit. But I'll wait until we get to orbit and start our burn there. Start our burn to get to minmus, I mean. I'm also glad that minmus is there, because it can serve as like a pit stop for ships leaving the Kerbin system, because you can maybe go there, refuel, and then it requires a lot less delta V to actually escape minmus than it does Kerbin. So you can stop there, refuel, and have more fuel for interplanetary journeys if you decide to set up resource collection networks there, which I think is awesome as well. Alright, so we're in orbit. So first thing you're going to do before anything is you're going to have a look over at minmus, right? And it has a inclination. So what you need to do is you need to adjust your orbital inclination to match minmus's orbital inclination. So that's going to require some fuel, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that. So make a maneuver, right? Line your orbit up with minmus's orbit, where your orbit lines up with minmus's orbit roughly. And then you're going to make your inclination change, so we'll make it about here. It's kind of tricky to understand how this works, but just roll with it. God damn. Maneuver system on Xbox is so screwed up. So yeah, let's just adjust here. Make our inclination change. Oops. That's weird. Chad, just pull on the normal and anti-normal vectors until you think you're lined up. I think this works here. Alright, so let's make the change. Oh, but first I'm gonna actually deploy the solar panel. Sorry, this is a thing I need to do as part of testing this vehicle. Custom actions. 4 or 5. It was 4. Yep. as a side note, you may want to also pack solar panels for your ship, because on your way there you might run out of power, which would not be very helpful if you were trying to, because you need your SAS to actually turn the ship. Otherwise it'll just kind of, like, you won't have any control over it when your engines are off. So make sure you pack solar panels. Engines do generate electricity, but once they're off, they don't do that anymore. So you got to make sure you're packing some solar panels just in case. Okay. Almost adjusted for our maneuver node here. Yeah, you just same way as you would use any other maneuver node. This is going to require quite a bit of fuel, actually. That's yeah, it's quite a bit of fuel there, but it shouldn't matter too much when you're using a really efficient engine like the LV909. Sorry, just making some last minute adjustments here. Alright, so again with these, I'll mention it again because I mentioned it in my first video on basic orbital maneuvers. When you're making your inclination changes, make sure you wait until you actually hit like 10 seconds before you actually have to start the burn, because otherwise your inclination will be different than what you had actually planned. Alright, and there we go. There's an inclination change for minmus. Let's actually get there now. So we're gonna set it as a target. Now that we've changed our inclination and everything, and we gotta get out there and meet it. So it looks like the descending node and ascending node are kind of messed. So we're gonna make a maneuver around here, because you want to. What's happening here is you want to meet up with it. So, oh shit. Oh, be quiet, dog. Oh, seriously? Come on now. Sorry, the maneuver node system in this, in the Xbox version of the game is really screwy. But I saw an encounter there for a sec. Oh my god, quit it. Like, when you're trying to adjust your nodes in this fucking, like, this is something you should change, squad, by the way, if you're listening. If you try to friggin' trying to adjust your maneuver nodes is an extreme pain in the Xbox version, because while you're friggin' trying to make your maneuver node, you just click on random things, and it's not even your fault. It's the game's. It's just the map just clicks on random shit while you're trying to make your maneuver node. Also, God, I hate it when the actual moon gets in the way when you're trying to make an encounter with minmus. Happens all the time. Happens on interplanetary stuff too. So just making our adjustments here. You may need to make some adjustments on your way as well. It's just easier to do this inclination change right away. Oh my goodness, give me a break, game.